Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're jumping straight into an analysis of a highly significant event that recently unfolded in occupied East Jerusalem. We're looking at some fascinating on-the-ground reports from regional news outlets RTV and Amer Desh. Our goal here is to take their reporting, map it out, and really figure out the dynamics at play. We're tuning out the noise and focusing purely on the structured facts as they've been reported on the ground. So let's decode the profound events surrounding a recent Friday prayer gathering that absolutely captured international attention. 65,000. It's a massive, massive figure, right? But in this context, it represents something so much more profound than just a statistic. This is the staggering number of worshipers who defied the odds and gathered for Friday prayers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I mean, imagine a crowd of that size, tens of thousands of individuals coming together in one single place. What makes this gathering truly remarkable, according to the regional reports, is that these folks managed to assemble despite facing incredibly tight restrictions and substantial logistical hurdles. It's this incredibly powerful image of a mass gathering under intense pressure. Okay, let's dive right into this. To make sure we're building our understanding on a really solid foundation, we are grounding our entire analysis directly in the verified reporting. The core data point here, that 65,000 worshippers attended the prayers, comes straight from the Islamic Waqf Department, the authority that manages the site, and was prominently echoed by the news network Al Jazeera. By anchoring our analysis to these exact source quotes, we can objectively examine the events of that day. It wasn't just some estimate thrown out randomly, it was a measured, reported figure from the actual authorities on the ground.
So, to really grasp what went down, we need to break down the timeline of that morning step by step. First off, for thousands of Palestinians, this journey began at the break of dawn. Step 2 is where things get really complex. The reports highlight that worshippers had to navigate and cross severe Israeli security barricades and strict movement protocols just to even approach the area. And finally, step 3, the culmination of all that effort. Despite the rigorous checkpoints, the vast courtyards and precincts of the mosque were completely filled to the brim. It's an intense micro-level timeline, moving from early morning travel through incredibly tight security to the final peaceful gathering.
But why exactly are these morning journeys so fraught with strict barricades in the first place? Let's zoom out a bit and look at the broader context of access and security. Let's see how this builds, because this isn't just about one isolated Friday, According to reporting from Amer Desh and RTV, what we're looking at is the result of a multi-year policy. For the past 3 years, Israel has imposed significantly tighter access restrictions, taking a severe toll on Palestinians attempting to travel from the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. It's an ongoing reality of limited access where many are simply unable to enter the mosque directly. And that leads us straight to today's massive gathering. It really highlights that the 65,000 people who actually made it are navigating a 3-year-old framework of heightened systemic restriction. Now, as we all know, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam, carries immense, irreplaceable religious weight. Because its spiritual and historical significance is so astronomically high, any restriction instantly transcends local logistics and becomes this deeply sensitive, high-stakes issue. It's not just a physical location being regulated here, it's a profound focal point of identity, faith, and history for Muslims worldwide. Basically, every single policy enacted around its perimeter echoes globally. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it puts the two completely opposing narratives surrounding these barricades side by side. On the left, we have the Palestinian claims. They argue that access to the site is purposefully shrinking, viewing the heavy security as essentially an excuse to exert control over their movement and worship. Conversely, on the right, we have the official Israeli claims. They maintain that these restrictions are an absolute necessity, dictated entirely by volatile security conditions. We aren't here to say who's right or wrong, but by placing these two perspectives right next to each other, you can clearly see the exact fracture point of this conflict.
Let's unpack the specific allegations outlined in our source articles. Palestinian sources are expressing a deep-seated fear. Their primary grievance is the systematic shrinking of access to this deeply sacred site. They see these checkpoints and barricades not as safety measures, but as direct tools designed to control their daily movement and stifle their religious freedom. It's a perspective firmly rooted in an ongoing fear of losing connection to a sacred space that has anchored their community for centuries.
So, the crucial point here is that we must also clearly understand the opposing rationale. From the perspective of Israeli authorities, the checkpoints, the barricades, and the limitations on crowds from the West Bank and Gaza are absolutely not about religious suppression. They argue that these measures are purely a reactive, necessary response to an incredibly complex and frequently dangerous security environment. They maintain that regulating access is the only way to maintain order and prevent violence in an area that has historically been a persistent flashpoint. So, what does this gathering signify on a global scale? Let's take a macro view at this profound Middle Eastern flashpoint. And this brilliantly illustrates the larger picture. When 65,000 people gather under these highly contested conditions, what happens at the Al-Aqsa Mosque acts as a microcosm for the deep-rooted tension between Palestinians and Israelis. It's like a giant puzzle combining highly sensitive religious factors with deeply entrenched territorial disputes. The source reports remind us that this isn't just a disagreement over a building. It is a core political issue that vibrates throughout the entire Middle East. Every restriction, every gathering, every prayer at this site sends ripples across the international political landscape. Which leaves us with a final vital question to ponder. How will the ongoing clash between these deeply held claims of religious freedom and the firm assertions of necessary security shape the future of this profound flashpoint? As we've seen today, the gathering of 65,000 worshippers is a real testament to the enduring importance of the site, but those barricades they crossed represent an equally enduring conflict. It's a highly complex reality where faith and security intersect every single day. Thanks for joining me for this analysis of the reporting, and I hope it helped bring some clarity to a very layered issue. Until next time, keep questioning and keep learning.